Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, wait. Am I in here by myself? Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I want to just take a moment and thank you for coming out to our event today. We are so happy to see you all. My name is Perez Maxwell. I'm a member of the Community Governance Board, but I'm going to need your help for a little bit because I'm a really shy person and stuff like this makes me really, really nervous. And a room full of beautiful people kind of intimidates me. So I want everybody to take a look to the left. Your left. Your left. And then take a look to your right and see all the beauty that I see and give yourselves a round of applause.
So correct. My dear, sweet, shy Perez. What are your pronouns, my friend?
He, him, his.
And what do you do in this world?
Right now, I am a retired grandfather of 4. The oldest being 7 and the youngest being about 10 months. But in my other lives, I've been an elementary school teacher for the Archdiocese of St. Louis for about 15 years. I've been a social worker for the state of Missouri Department of Health and Senior Service. That was about another 8 years of time. And then more recently, where I retired from was St. Vincent Home for Children in Normandy, a children's social service nonprofit.
So I wonder what brought you to the Community Governance Board?
So I grew up in, I'm the old head on the board, as you can tell. And so I grew up in the Hamilton Heights neighborhood, which is just west of here. And I grew up Catholic, kind of in a village. And I grew up thinking that every Black person was Catholic, everybody went to Catholic school in St. Louis, and that everybody was a Democrat. Well, when I went to high school in West County, I realized that things were vastly different from what Sister taught me growing up. And so it was a whole different world. And by the time I got to college, I had actually started to experience racism, sexism, classism, all that stuff that I heard on television that I thought didn't exist, but did. And so I was like, this is so wrong. And I started to do a deeper dive, and I realized that St. Louis was not the bubble that I thought it was, that there was a huge history of racial injustice and inequality here, and that we needed to do something to change that. And I had this wonderful opportunity to join this great group of colleagues who are working to work with you to try to change that so that we have an equitable and just St. Louis.
Excellent. So one of the things that we first do as we join the Community Governance Board, I promise we'll tell you what that is, all of the pieces that goes along with that. But one of the things we ask ourselves is our story of self. What catalyzed you into action? What were the things that brought you to decide to move and create a better world than what the ones you were given? So these are the moments in our lives where we had to face the real, right? The real reality that we have in front of us and make choices. Mine's a little different and yet similar with the bubble, right? So I am a Belleville, Illinois native, a military brat. And once upon a time, a boy liked a girl. That girl was me, by the way. And he was like, she is so cute. Thank you. However, he's like, what an amazing Black woman he happens to be like. His family was like, what a Black woman. So Yes.
Because that's a touch screen, so every time you hear it.
Really?
Yes.
So like, this really does hold, it does have a soul at this point. So,
No, you did.
so when it came time for this little boy, who was incredibly persistent, to chase this little girl, his family cut him out and we went off into the sunset. My family taught about him, about unconditional love, what it was like to truly be in a family. He was the little white boy at the family reunions that we would drag him to, right? Meanwhile, eventually he asked me to marry him and he's persistent. I said yes. And then we had a little boy. So during that time, his family did in fact decide that perhaps there was something else to this woman, not in spite of her color, but also as part of who I am. And so they came back into our lives. But now we have this little multi-rainbow colored baby. And the world still is not, it's not worthy of him yet. So I got to do better, right? Like I figured, oh, well, this was just my story. I bet you y'all got a story. So catalyzed into action is how I came to the board. So hi, I'm Michelle Barbeau, pronouns she, hers. My boyfriend turned husband thinks I'm fine. That's so on the board is the current community governance board. So this is a team of folks, regular folks in your local area, just like you, trying to be catalyzed into action and change the world that we live in, especially in the St. Louis metropolitan area. So we've got beautiful, beautiful humans from all walks of life. I know, should I like say their shade? Are you in the room? Do you want to wave? Angel, Roar. All right. So
Ashley,
Ashley, bam, hi.
wait.
Uh-huh.
Let's see.
And so we are very happy to welcome you in person for this fun's launch. Let's see. So actually, I'm going to pass it back to you, my friend.
So we're going to talk a little bit and spend some time in the community with you all today to talk about St. Louis community and the path to racial healing and justice for Black people by Black-led organizations with Black voices at table. Y'all get the picture. We want to show you a future where Black people are no longer on the menu because we are at the table, built with money decided by us. So come join us on this journey.
So on this screen, we want to give you a little understanding of the pieces of the puzzle. Ferguson is a project manager, folks who keeps the glue together, whereas Deaconess and Missouri Foundation for Health are our first, poor little name tag, I'm Michelle, y'all. They're the sponsors and fiscal managers. So though they are fiscally responsible for the fund, all of the decisions about the allocation and the priorities are set through the St. Louis community and led by the Community Governance Board. That's a very important differentiation. So on this slide, we've got the Community Governance Board up at the top. So this body pulled out of the regular old community of people who are impacted by racial and white systemic systems, right? They are the ones that are being the decision makers of it. Whereas understanding again, you've got Deaconess as the fiscal agent, helps us get the money to the right places with the right paperwork, and then FTF forward through Ferguson as the project manager.
And Michelle, if I can just jump in for a second. I think it's important that the decisions are made by people from and of the community, because for so long, decisions were made for us by people sitting in some ivory tower someplace that didn't have a clue about the day-to-day lives of the people that they were making these decisions for.
Yes.
So when you actually pull people from the community with lived experience, who actually understand what's going on in the community, the results are just infinitely better.
100%. So the engagement process of the Racial Healing and Justice Fund was community centric. It was shaped by the St. Louis residents, community healers, and community organizers. So the input from the folks was deciding what are our priorities, what needs to be done. The process led to a launch of the fund, that is the Community Governance Board that we're talking about, consists of community members who are directly affected by racialized oppression. The board is going to be the ones to vote on the grantees that will receive the grants. Come get this money, y'all. And then from there, we will make sure that it's going to Black and Brown residents in the St. Louis region. So by the way, I want you to know, if you're wondering if you are allowed, if you are in there, if the systems hate you, come on in, right? Okay. So just in case we ever use the words Black and that is not the way you identify, it's you too.
You know, I think it's important that we have people of color.
Yes, people of color. So we hispanohablantes, right? Like everybody, like come on in, please. So the fun thing about the fund was the launch fell in the unprecedented times of the pandemic. And that proved to reveal more racial inequities, who's surprised, amongst Black and Brown St. Louis. But the methods of engagement Ford through Ferguson used to interact with the community had to change based off of that. You know, we had to limit social gatherings and interactions due to health safety. The result was virtually centered project plan to drive engagement and make sure that we did protect the well-being of the company. So we engaged key folks in here, community organizers, healing practitioners, St. Louis residents, and the Racial Healing Justice launch team consisting of funders who were stewards of the process and community constellations. So local communal and cultural leaders with large social networks of Black communities and communities of color. Everyone played a specific and important role to engage the community and help identify the initiatives and the activities that would be funded. So June through September 2020, FTF embarked on a community engagement journey in the middle of a pandemic. So we're looking at systemic racism in and around St. Louis. That meant that the engagement had to go through virtual platforms and move through this interesting path of surveys and phone banks and focus groups to get the input to make sure that, again, this isn't someone from an ivory tower making a decision. What do the people, what do we need? We need to be the voice of the solution, not the face of the problem. So we wanted to make sure that we uplifted and promoted those engagement opportunities. And then also, like, did folks want to volunteer? Did they want to attend events? Hey, thank y'all for attending events. You know, did you want to share your vision? Or did they want to do it all? And the community responded. And we made sure that we built them into the engagement journey. Passing on.
So in the first few years of the fund's history, the engagement path consisted of several events and interactions with the broader community. July 8th, we have the community organizer convening. On July 9th, the racial healing practitioner convening. The community organizer and practitioner surveys. Then we had the vision and priority survey. And we did a bunch of social media stuff, and it gets really, really tedious. The thing of it is that we tried everything that we could to get the word out, because one of the things that I've noticed, we've noticed in St. Louis, is that sometimes big things happen and it only happens for a select group of people. And if you don't know, you can't take a part of it. which is why, as Michelle said earlier, come get this money and do something that is going to improve the community. Because God knows, we can't take it ourselves, because if we could, I'd be in the Bahamas speaking to you, but I'm not. I'm here trying to encourage you to do what you need to do, what you've been doing, and what you can do even better with just a little bit more money. In case y'all haven't noticed, she's a serious one. I'm the comedian.
Okay, let's see. So, move on over. So this is one of my favorite parts. Going to traditional places, philanthropic and nonprofit organizations with a non-traditional fund idea was not, and honestly wasn't always successful. Can you imagine having conversations? You're like, so here, we need the money, but you don't get any grant making decisions. That's not for you, not at all. And by the way, not only do you not get it, all of the decision making is going to be in the hands of Black and brown people. Please and thank you. Send us the check. No, no. So with no funding priorities up front, because we're gathering them from the community, that we were going to ask the community, right? And it was a no for many possible funders. Mia, I love it that you are in here in the notes. Mia says it's a no for me, dog. Every time she's shooting something down. So it also can be competitive out here. Most initiatives are funded with goals and measurable outcomes that can be predicted ahead of time, often without community feedback and input from people inside marginal communities, people who don't have the privilege of predictable life outcomes because of our identities. So this has been radical from the start. And we're very, very grateful that these people stepped up to seed the Racial Healing and Justice Fund, letting go of many traditional power dynamics to allow the process to be community informed and community led. So I do want to give that.
So Forward Through Ferguson stewarded the community outreach and engagement efforts that led to the forming of our community governance board that drives the development and execution of the grant making process. Forward Through Ferguson provides ongoing support to the community governance board, and the governance board leads the decisions about the funds allocated. The Community Governance Board is a voting body of 9 to 15 members. There's 14 of us currently, and we are from St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and the Metro East. And, we consider St. Charles part of the region too, but there's not many of us out there, so we try.
You're out there, you got a friend of us too.
Yes.
So the board is the folks that review and has the decision-making power over how the funding will be distributed. You don't have to convince me, by the way, I'm already a fan, right? So like, you don't have to slip me anything. I'm already a fan. So, you know what? We used to have two groups that focused in two different areas, but we've actually kind of shifted that a little bit. So I'll just tell you that there's two main functions that we have. The grants and allocation work group is, or that type of activity, that's the folks that's doing the process that's happening within the application. So the application portal is open, reviewing the applicants themselves. We're going to be doing interviews as a second step, and then sending out this money to where it's rightfully supposed to be, right? So those type of activities, that's the stuff that usually you think about when you think of philanthropy. The part that is equally as important is the stuff we're doing right now. Community voice and learning, making sure that we're hanging out with the community, the folks who are actually doing that we are also a part of. We're collecting, evaluating, and learning from the process, and also doing continual improvement and adaptation. So within those two activities, the full board does come back together, and we do vote together and recommend who should move forward, get the grants, etc. And then we'll continue to look at those priorities and making sure that we're honoring what the community has said. Okay, so we also had the selection committee, just kind of backing up a little bit. So how the heck did folks like Perez and myself get here? There was a selection committee. Guess what? Here's the same theme, right? Came from the community itself and had an open call. Hey, who would like to be a part of this interesting thing that we're building together? And so these kind humans did in fact do that. They came from community organizers, community healers, reviewing application and interviewing candidates to determine applicants that were a good fit for the racial healing and justice community. It's kind of fun. 55 applicant nominations from our community, 32 submitted. And my favorite part is it included resumes, videos, poetry, sound recordings. This is the same stuff that can be on your application as well, okay? So again, we're breaking with the system of written dissertation is the only intelligence that matters. No, it does not. No, it does not. It is one way of knowing being. So we're leaning out of white supremacy values.
So Michelle,
Sir.
before you, so can we kind of cut to the meat?
Yes.
And who is eligible? What does someone who applying for a grant need?
Oh, well,
What's the eligibility?
okay.
Because you've already explained that this process is not going to be scary. It's not going to be like applying for FAFSA. I'm just saying, I'm trying to keep it real, y'all. We not trying to do that. So who,
Do you have an idea that would uplift the community, that would help it heal from the pain and trauma of racial structures, of racialized structures and white supremacist structures? Do you have an idea or something you might even already be doing that would be changing the conditions that got us to this moment? How about we continue to shift things and build a different world so that the outcomes are no longer based on our skin and our zip code? If that's you in the St. Louis metropolitan area, and like we're talking to our friends across the river too, right? And the other one in St. Charles too. I'm not mad at y'all, right? So like here, right? If you are in the here, come on. Please come and visit the application portal. You do not have to have a certain pedigree. You don't have to have been in business for a certain amount of time. All of those things, that's for other folks to care about. I'm interested in the folks who are actually going to do things in our community and leave it better than when they found it.
so this would be a good time to hear from someone who may have gotten grant. Yeah.
A couple of other things. I would love to invite up folks who already received a grant. We invited a couple of folks, amazing humans who are already doing things in our community, and they were kind enough to be like, yes, please, I would love to do it even better. And we asked them a couple of questions. So I'm going to invite whoever wants to be first. I keep looking at you, but you ain't got it. Excellent. Okay. I see that. We asked them 5 questions. Please do come on up if you can, because I know it's kind of snuggly back there. How does your organization engage with Black and Brown communities or other POC communities in St. Louis and prioritize healing justice? What has your experience been applying to and working with the fund? Come on, tell on us. And how would you like to see this initiative expand the capacity of your organization? And then what's your vision of a healed St. Louis region? And then since we're non-traditional, you can do what you want.
Okay.
I'll step out of your way.
Trying
Please
to
step
breathe
in.
under this mask. A little bit of a breathing problem, so hopefully. But anyway, my name is Vivian Dudley and I'm Black. I am a former grantee of the Racial Healing and Justice Fund. I run a not-for-profit organization called the Nehemiah Program. That started because of some of the cultural things that and background. I want to share a little bit of a story, like she was saying, about the impact. I remember a statement my dad made to me. It was just ingrained in me. I was always a go-getter from a little girl, because he was from the old school, you know, and he basically said, if you're Black daughter, you're gonna have to work twice as hard, you're gonna have to be twice as good, and you still might not get what you deserve. And one of the most important things that I wanted to do when I was coming up was go to college. And we were poor from the Hamilton Heights neighborhood. And I had eight sisters and brothers. It was 9 of us, and my parents couldn't send me to college. So I remembered my dad saying when I graduated from high school that I was gonna have to work twice as hard. And I had to figure out, how can I make the world notice me? Because I'm smart, I'm just broke. And I'm Black, and all these things that come with that. And I remember so my first job out of high school was with a $400 billion healthcare organization. It was owned by Merck, Calgon Vestal Laboratories. Y'all remember Calgon taking me away. I got that job at the age of 18 years old. I'm like, what can I do? I knew I was gonna be really good at the job. They started out paying me $8,100 a year. And so I just made sure that, because I wanted to always make my dad proud. I made sure that I was always the first person at work. I was the last person that left. And every evening I took work home. I worked overtime whenever they offered it. And then I didn't, for the most part, put down the overtime. I did it for free. The vice president fell in love with me. He pulled me into the office one time, asked me who I was, how old I was. I was 18 years old. He said, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna run this company one day. 10 years later, I was in upper management running, when Merck sold Calgon, I helped convert and build the sales payroll system that put those companies together. So I just got creative because I knew I could beat odds. And I just wanted to tell you all that. Some things happened in my life. Fast forward really quick. Some things happened in my life. And so I was also brought up in church. Had a lot of faith, you know, at church. And so my pastors took us to a conference one day when the faith-based initiatives came out. I had suffered, there was a big hole that I told y'all about, but I got caught up in the crack cocaine epidemic. And I was an addict for 17 years with no college degree. Got healed instantly after going from treatment center to treatment center, church, counselors, all of that. And instantly, someone at church laid their hands on me and prayed for me. And I never used, that was 29 years ago. There's two things going on, you know. And so I go to work for Marriott Hotels. I become the top salesperson in 6 years, selling all 21 hotels in Marriott. I sold more, so my sales numbers were more than all of the salespeople total that was in my region put together. My pastor took me to a conference and they started talking about faith-based initiatives and that you could write grants and get millions of dollars to help people off of drugs. And I'm like, God, I could do that. You know, for 29 years, that's what I did. Beg for money. This is gonna be good. So I came home from Marriott. I was almost making 6 figures and I quit my job and went to work with my church, and I'm gonna start this not-for-profit for the church. Well, again, reality hit in, and I didn't know how to write grants. So I told my church, y'all ain't gotta pay me. I'm gonna write to the government. I'm gonna, you know, we're already doing good things. They started substance abuse programs and picking up addicts all over the city because folks were dropping like flies on crack cocaine. So I started teaching myself how to write grants. I worked for my church for 2 years. I put in 40, 60, 80 hours a week. They didn't pay me a dime. And I never got one grant in 2 years. And so I'm like, I'm about to go broke, Lord, I need another miracle. Long story short, I got my first grant, bam, and my first grant was $750,000. It was from a local not-for-profit, very well known here in St. Louis. I won't tell the name of it. And during the due diligence process, they decided that they had gotten some wrong information about my organization. And after they had awarded me the $750,000, they sent me a letter saying they were going to take it back. So I called them and told them that the information that they had was wrong. And they said, well, ma'am, the grant thing is closed. It's over with. It's done with. Well, at that time, I had a white colleague, mentor, who was teaching me how to write, who taught me how to write grants. And I told him what happened. And so now this white man calls them and tells them the same story I did. In about 30 minutes, I got a phone call back. They gave me back $750,000. That was the first injustice. So then him and I partnered together and created a dummy company. And this what we did was, when we would go in, we were writing millions of dollars worth of grants. We would go into Black organizations. We were helping Black churches and things that were doing all these great things, faith-based organizations. And so we would go in, and when we would go into the churches, I was the president and he was the vice president. But when we would go into the white facilities, he was the president and I was the vice president. And so between that, we raised, you gotta be creative. So our background came, when I stopped being his partner, we had raised over $450 million in grant money. So then I decided I could do this by myself. It's gone away. And I started my own organization called Living Legacy. And I started my own organization, and I'm gonna write grants again and do all these wonderful things, but I didn't have any money, I didn't have any staff, I just had a great idea. And lo and behold, COVID hit, and I'm trying to do all of this stuff, didn't have any money. COVID hit, and I ran up on this email about the Deaconess Foundation and the Racial Healing and Justice Fund. And by then, I had already started and opened up 7 recovery houses. I was housing 41 heritage addicts to a $40 million grant that was awarded to the Department of Mental Health for the state of Missouri. And about 90% of that money, in my opinion, was going to the Department of Mental Health, and about 10% was going for us to help all of these folks that were dying from the fentanyl epidemic that we're almost the #1 in the state. So I wrote the grant, I won $10,000. Let me speed it up. I wrote the grant, I won $10,000 from the Racial Healing and Justice Fund. And we were about to close our doors. The St. Louis County CARES came out with a grant too, and they awarded me $6,331. So I had about $16,000 to try to figure out how I could save my organization. That $16,000 was the best well-spent money that had ever happened for me. As a result of that $16,000, I was able to bring on one other person to help me pursue some funding so that we could establish a foothold during COVID, and with that $16,000, I hired her, and we wrote a grant to the Missouri Department of Economic Development. When we were on St. Louis County, when they were for funding folks that were doing emergency COVID relief. St. Louis County awarded us $127,000, and 2 weeks later, the Missouri Department of Economic Development funded us $183,000. So now we got about $300,000 now. So we were able to now build out a room that so there were 6 things that we were able to establish. We've got a van so that we could transport these addicts. I'm housing these women in the recovery houses. I was able to pay staff finally. I was able to get create a 4-position staff with that grant. I was able to also create a room where we could do mental health counseling and recovery counseling through virtually, because we got computers and all of those things turn things around. And then because of everything that I went through, I always had a vision like the Racial Healing and Justice Fund. We also hired somebody to help us build a website. And we started a program. Started a kind of just a group. It wasn't a program. called Women Entrepreneurs, Empowering Women Entrepreneurs. And just bring us together. Let's put our heads together to see. And I started training those people from everything from 501c3s and grant writing. So that money, you know, it may seem like a little, but that $16,000 seed that planted saved, not only did it save my organization and my life, it saved the lives of so many other people. And it saved the lives of so many other people, and it impacted my world like never before. We're doing things. The last thing that I'll say is, as a result of that, we got a call from the Fearless Fund, who is an organization that funds Black men and women owned businesses with kind of like they do with these 2-page short applications with millions and millions of dollars. So thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, in case you missed something in that presentation, the bottom line is Racial Healing and Justice may not be able to fund your entire project, but we can certainly get your vision started.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I wonder if we have time check, just a transparent time check. How we doing? Okay, one more. Because, you know, I can say whatever the heck I want, but I want to.
Are these for the people who already received?
Already received.
Okay.
You'll be soon, right? Get your application. 2 more? Excellent. All right. Yes. Okay, so now Jeanette and then, okay, cool. You're up.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, is there any way you can go to our website so the slideshow can play?
Actually, I guess that's, how do we get it up here?
It's just westernsanctuary.org. Sanctuary.
It's a farm in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, and then there should be like a slideshow.
Right, like box.
Sorry, please subscribe.
Well done, that converts. There it comes. Here
There
it
we
comes.
go. So I figured the slideshow would help because a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Janet Lewis, sorry. Hey, come out to the fall festival.
Yes.
So Rustic Root Sanctuary is a 501c3 farm in Spanish Lake. And we started the farm because I think it was Save-A-Lot Foods packed up, shuttered on Parker Road, leaving us with one grocery store, Schnucks. So we were kind of like, how can we create food access in a place where there's so much disinvestment going on? So we ended up going to the community, having a meeting at the Tillman House where we invited everyone in and said, if we started a community garden, would you be willing to help build the boxes, install it, and work the garden beds so we can create this food access? So after that meeting, we actually had 30 people sign up and become garden members. And then from there, it was just like the garden was installed. Oh, but I got to backtrack to the house. So the place where the garden is a nuisance. It was a nuisance property. There was a lot of police activity, illegal dumping, all kinds of bad things going on. So we took the house, we demoed it, and that was where we installed that community garden. We basically took the land to the community and said, can we solve this problem, and would you help? Would you be willing to really work for it? So what ended up happening after that was we decided that if we could create that much food, how much more food could we create? And then how much healing could we do? Because I'm a firm believer that Mother Nature is the greatest healer. Like if you go out and connect with nature, get in the dirt and get grounded, it alleviates a lot of stress and tension. So when COVID kind of exploded in 2020, you know, we had a lot of people coming through the space. And in the beginning, it was like everyone that pulled up, I would give a full-on farm tour to. It's like, come and check out what we're doing in the space. So I would take them all around, show them all the things that we're doing. And one of the things that we're trying to do, or that we are doing, is creating a sustainable retreat. So a big element of what Rustic Roots does is we bring people in to either have retreats where we do liberation workshops and people can camp out in nature. We have a farm to table chef, like provide this amazing food that's like really, really delicious and nutritious. And just take all the stresses away. I feel like if we get people out of their element sometimes and we just connect and support each other, then that is a great way to have clarity. And I think clarity equals power. Like when we're clear of the stress and the tension that's dragging us down day to day, we can really soar. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I didn't realize there was gonna be this many people. I am not a public speaker, y'all. Yeah, so as she was saying, my father raised me up on leave every place you find better than you found it. So that's one of the things I've always striven for. And I think Rustic Root Sanctuary is a great example of like what we can do when we come together. And we're turning these children on to like milking goats and, you know, caterpillars, butterflies. We're teaching people how to feed themselves through organic agriculture. And I feel like Rustic Roots is basically just trying to solve all these problems we see in our community. And then we've created this amazing group of people that are just so supportive and want to participate and do more healing. And so one of the things that we recently got was a grant for a yurt. And so we'll be building this yoga meditation space on the land. So that'll take it to the next level there. And I need to look at my phone to see what the questions I'm supposed to be answering were. You did so good preparing your talk. Okay, so basically I had no money. I was going broke funding my own operation, and Racial Healing and Justice Fund came along. And I was like, please believe in me. Like, I've got this awesome vision and I'm willing to work my butt off, but you know, nobody would give you money if you didn't already have money. Exactly. You know, it's like you need 2 years of 990s and this, that, and the other. So that, you know, where most organizations were making me jump through all these hurdles and then say no anyway, Racial Healing and Justice Fund was like, come on in, tell your story. And it was so easy. The portal was really friendly, went through the portal. Then I got the meeting with the Community Governance Board. Was that his interviews?
Mhm.
And so that was great. After that meeting, the rest is history. I got my first, well, this was my third, but the first two were like little tiny $5,000 grants for the COVID emergency response. So this was the one that allowed me to actually pay myself for the first time. Instead of losing all my assets to build my dream, like I actually was able to give myself something for all the work. And so from there, it was like, we got a couple of news interviews and everything just started opening up. This past year, we were funded by so many different organizations that came in and were just like, yes, we believe in your vision. I didn't even know what I was doing in the beginning. It was like, I don't know how much it costs to run this. I don't know, you know, what I need yet. Like as soon as we started piecing it all together, I was like, uh-oh, I need a lot of money. It takes a lot to run a 6.5, 7 acre farm. So it was definitely great for my self-esteem, and it helped me get to the point where I'm really just going out there and getting grants now and continue to do this good work and bringing in more of the community. How would you like to see the initiative expand the capacity of your organization? I would just like to see Racial Healing and Justice Fund continue to support people in that way, people that might not have, I really feel it's important for people who don't have anything behind them. They're just coming in with this dream. And you know, if they had a little bit of seed money, they would do amazing things. I feel like y'all are totally onto it with that. And then also just by saying, funders, give us all your money and back off, you know, let us make the decisions for our community. Like y'all are my heroes for doing that. It's really amazing. And I think my vision for a healed St. Louis region is where people are able to live their dreams. Like if somebody's got a dream, it's like you're gonna get the support you need to build you up to that point where you can actually do it. And just seeing more of that, I think would heal the community. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've got one more speaker for you, but one of the takeaways that I get from that is start, right? And can we help? You know, because I really hope that by going through the process or interacting with the Racial Healing Justice Fund, it's the beginning of further opening of more opportunity coming. So I would love to invite one more voice to the stage. Because, you know, we keep talking about how great this is, but I think they say it better. So come on up. Please do introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Chapo, founder, managing director of Black Girls Do STEM. Hydroponics, we have someone from Even and Odd Farms in Ferguson. Odds and Even.
Odds and Ends.
Odds and Ends. Oh, yes. No, Valerie.
Val, yeah.
Yeah, so she was
Yep.
telling us about Rusty Roots, so
All right.
connection there. They're gonna invite us out to the farm. So of course, we're a STEM program in hydroponics or agricultural technology is one of our areas of focus. And so I'm glad to hear that. So essentially, Black Girls Do STEM, we're in our 4th year, but when it comes to the story of Racial Healing and Justice Fund, similar to what the first speaker said, I would say for me, Black Girls Do STEM came about because I decided that I no longer wanted to work twice as hard, be twice as good, and still get less than I deserve. And so one day I just quit. I was a research and development chemist in industry. In December of 2022, I woke up one day and said that I was done. I had a friend who's also a PhD. I'm not a PhD, but she's a PhD chemist, and she was at a company and at 32 suffered like a micro stroke because of the level of stress of having to show up Black in these spaces and be excellent and exemplary, and people still will try to play in your face. And so, you know, I'm a millennial, so we decided we're just not gonna take it no more. Right? And so, when I think about healing and justice, right, and a racial healing and justice fund, like for me, that's what healing and justice truly is gonna be, right? Us not having to work twice as hard, not having to be twice as good and still get less than we deserve from a society that should honor us as humans as much as everyone else, right? And that's really what the premise of Black Girls Do STEM is about. As a Black woman, I had a certain set of experiences, right? And I think a lot of it was because I had told myself a story about I was just gonna like put my head down and do the work, not realizing that at some point I was gonna need to come up and take deep breaths, right? I was gonna have to come up and breathe, and I could be doing more to change that reality for girls coming behind me, rather than just playing into it. And so when Racial Healing and Justice Fund came about, January of 2021, I was unemployed, and Black Girls Do STEM had about $30,000 in the bank, and about half of that was my money, and I now no longer had a full-time income, and so I was taking a big chance on myself. Right, like I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I just made maybe an impulsive decision, but I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it was like I got to do something different. I woke up. My dad called me. What are you doing? My dad's like, you're blowing up your life, you know, because you know it's not the same generation, right? It's not the same world, right? And so I had a lot of people looking at me like I was insane. And I just had to figure out how I was going to raise these funds to really birth this idea fully here in the St. Louis region. And that's when a fund like Racial Justice and Healing becomes critical, because when you do only got $30,000 or maybe no money in the bank, people are looking at you like, what are you doing? How are you going to do it? And so then you have this big vision, you write out this big vision and you show it to people, you start telling folks, and they can't see it, right? They can't materialize. And so it was awesome of an experience. It was like a 2-page application. I had applied for another national fund that also was a community governance board. So I had a little bit of experience with like interviewing with a governance board versus like a foundation grant. And it was like completely different. It was like very informal. It was more like they said, we want to hear your story. We want to connect with you. We want to understand, like, not why you are the person that's doing this, but like you're the person who decided racial healing and justice was like the work, right? And so like, let us understand how you are connected to this work. And I feel like oftentimes, even as a Black woman in STEM, representing an organization that are for Black girls in STEM, I still don't speak even for that whole entirety collective community, right? So much of what we wanted to do as Black girls in STEM was better storytelling, better data collection. And so much of what we've been able to do with the funding through racial healing and justice is have better surveying and better feedback loops and improve like how we connect and how we get information back from our students and our parents to be able to do storytelling, right? To be able to really understand the impact of our work from the voices of our students and our community members. And that's what we've used most of our funding for. And then to just improve our technology as a STEM program as well. We hired for the first time this year our second full-time staff person other than myself. The Racial Healing and Justice Grant. I started the year with $30,000 in the bank. Last year in 2021, we raised over $350,000. Healing and justice was a big piece of that, and these sort of community governance board with that, where the barrier isn't so high for you to receive funding. And so what was the next question? I think I may have answered the first one, but the process was super smooth. The interview was great. Again, it felt very communal focused. Having someone even come out and witness our program, we always try to welcome our stakeholders in to sort of see what we do up close. It's always an awesome opportunity. And I just think the same thing when I envision the future of the region. It's just like folks really taking that accountability, right? These white systemic institutions, like these maybe foundations, I saw a couple on there who I won't speak on, right? That decided to give the Racial Healing and Justice Fund money. But I think also acknowledgement of like these white practices and systems that do not propel the visions of Black and brown people in the community, right? And so I think in order to heal, we have to really start by telling the truth, right? And I think that's the truth that has to be told. As great as it is to give a forward through Ferguson and the Racial Healing and Justice Fund monies, I think we have to start making them also see that for them to be a part of the real healing, that they have to change their systemic structures. So that's what I was trying to do. We can take that, repurpose those resources, and really put it in the hands of Black and brown people and community who have the solutions to their own problems.
All right.
Should be a chapel.
No.
Chapel. Yeah.
Those were really, really powerful stories. Let's give it up for our grantees and their reasons.
I'll get back to the presentation.
Although that. By the way, there's gonna be food. By the way, and we'll take you to it. I'll say that loud. I just wanted to mention about how can you contribute. Okay, so how can you contribute? For more information on becoming a fund partner, right? Because so we've been doing this interesting pilot for those last couple of years. After this grant cycle, we'll wrap it up, and we're hoping that this keeps going. So if you would like to become a fund partner, please contact Keisha Davis, Director of Partnership and Capacity Building for Deaconess. She's amazing. We've got her email address available for you. And then to become a fiscal sponsor, right? One of the things that happens with this fund is you do not have to have a 501c3 in order to receive funds. We could perhaps match you with a fiscal sponsor. If you happen to already have such a designation and want to hook up your homies in the community, please do also contact folks. We will put you in contact with Ferguson to be able to match up that partnership. So, couple of things. I want to do an announcement about what comes next for our event today, and then also open it up for questions. So the what comes next, just in case y'all are hungry, now that you're no longer outside and you have cooled down a little bit, we actually do have some food. Obviously, we've got some cooler refreshments here, but we do also have hot food from local folks out in, there is a community garden next to a Deaconess. And so there is a pavilion in there that actually has the food available. You can stroll on over there at your own convenience. We're here till 4. Or some folks have even offered to drive people over there because we want to make sure that it is accessible. So if you're interested in doing that, just hang out here near the front desk. We'll gather and just go over. It's like a sneeze and you're there. Okay, so it's not like you're going somewhere interesting with someone you've just met. Okay. Okay. So now, what questions do you have? Please, and any CGB member or for the Ferguson can chime in.
I'm representing the village path. We provide mental health counseling free of charge to Black identified men.
Thank you.
Or men identified as, anyway, y'all got it. We just literally hit submit on our 501c3 application.
Okay,
So.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Are we able to receive funds ourselves, or how long do we have to have that designation, or?
very good question. So I would say it would need to be the official response. We have a piece of paper that we can share. And then if that was the case, so if it comes in before, like officially we have awarded, we've getting ready to say yes and throw you some funds, right? If should that happen, we would need to have a piece of paper that says, yes, in fact, you have received that designation. If that has not yet happened, no worries. We'll hook you up with somebody to be able to coordinate with that until that comes. Great question. Very excited for you to have that designation. Excellent. It opens so many doors. Amazing.
Is there a specific amount that we ask for in the grant, or does the committee decide how much of a project they have to fund?
Excellent question. So ask for what you would like, ask for what you need. There is no specific cap for that, but there is the possibility that it wouldn't be funded in full. So the Community Governance Board does get to decide how much comes out, especially if like we're trying, we got some coin, but we also hope that there's tons of great options. So we might be spreading it around. So one of the questions that does also come out of that is to wonder, is your project, your idea, your initiative able to get started if it's only partially funded? Is something to think about. So thankfully it's not an all or nothing. So if we say yes, but we only give you an amount, that suddenly you just don't get anything. Like we got, it's possible. Great question. Anyone else? Certainly feel free to.
The application is mostly like insert fields for like, and if you did want to submit a video or some sort of presentation, do you email that directly, or is there a place on there for that?
Did we put her in the audience? Thank you. So certainly type stuff in the application, including please see the thing, and you would be emailing it right above the button for the apply here. There's email addresses, and you can send that information to there. So, yep, sing me a song, write me a poem, paint me a picture. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, we just asked that, that in the subject line, you put that it's like supplemental grant materials, so we can prioritize.
I can imagine just like a random love poem appearing in the FDO. That's great.
What is the grant cycle? Usually, I know y'all are not usual,
Uh-huh.
but from implementation to evaluation, which should be factored in.
Let's see. So the portal closes October 5th. Like I'm checking in with my homies to make sure I'm getting the dates right. And then we think about it and talk amongst ourselves for a bit. When is the next, well, things are right. There's some flexibility. Okay. So please don't, I'm not pinky swearing on this, but there's going to be a certain point where we contact all applicants and let you know, would we like to interact with you in an interview, hear more from you. what are the approximate dates of that?
It would be about before the end of the year. It would be dispersed. Deaconess holds the dollars that have been pooled, and so it would be before the end of the year, it'd be dispersed, and then it's a year.
Yeah, so we've got some dates, like if you're, again, please don't, so like think about, say that again.
Did you just say it's a year?
Yes.
No, by the end of this year, we need those funds to be gone before December 31 turns into January 1.
And,
So there's
and the
that.
period is a year for evaluation, is what I
So
heard.
we'll contact you again,
Okay.
like a year after you get the money to talk to you again. How did it go? What'd you do? How was it? Was it
So
awesome?
we have a
Flag
year
it.
to implement our program, have outcomes, and send you back information, have another one of these, whatever.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes.
Does the room understand that?
I'm
No, but-
Sebastian, started Ali Academy of Social Justice K-12 school. And question is, aside from the money, are there other supports that if we're a grantee, that the fund would provide?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So there's relationships that we have built right through the funders themselves. Folks have offered different assistance. I'm especially thinking of those capacity pieces. How do I translate the weird games that are happening beyond this fund into things that I can navigate? Yes, those are available. So there's nothing specifically written out for that, but it is definitely available. The capacity build is part of the hope of that relationship.
I'm the talent from Agenda for Africa. This is the first time. So my first question is, our organization works with refugee and immigrants. We focus on Black migrants and refugees on different areas, mental health, and also community. So my question is, last time you sent us, I don't know who is that, but email about this one, then we spread the information to our community associations from different communities from Africa, refugee community. Then those people asking us if we can be a sponsor for them. But we want to apply as our organization at the same time. So how that we can work with that.
I can see how that would kind of, there's a couple of moving pieces to that, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, first of all, please apply. Happy to have you. Second of all, they too, happy to have them. Go ahead and apply. And then as a separate piece of work is to get in contact with us about offering yourself as a fiscal sponsor. So that way, if anyone who does not yet have that designation wants to, is awarded monies, they're able to link up and use that. And that's regardless of whether or not you're funded or they're funded or anything like that, two separate buckets for exactly. If you're going to offer to be a fiscal sponsor, first of all, thank you. You know, that's great. And then also can't wait to learn more about the work you're doing. Please apply. Great question.
So great to see you.
Thank you.
If there were,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
If there were two to 3 points for someone who is considering or has a television apply for the one, weren't able to make it today, but you wanted to give them like either boom that you need to know so you can go forward.
Anyone else? Like, I'm not the spokesperson. I'm just the loud one.
I could not hear the question. My
What are-
question was 3 main bullets for someone who couldn't attend today, but wanted to apply. That I could like hear information back, if you need to know this, and this.
I'll say a couple of things for folks that didn't apply. We are recording this, and so we will share. So if someone wants to, there should still be an interest form up on the website. So if they want this recording, the link to the recording or whatnot, they can fill out this interest form and we can send it directly to them. Second is that if they want to talk with CGB members about their potential application, the board is doing drop-in sessions next week, Monday through Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. We just ask that you register so they could again talk to someone directly on the community governance board terms of applying, I think the way that it started with this story of self is it's really tell us, you know, the narrative of the work that you're doing and how it intersects with the priorities of the fund. As some other folks are saying, the application portal is pretty simple, and that was done intentionally. And then the question earlier about supplemental materials, like there isn't a way to upload them into the application portal, I believe, but if they want to send over videos or poems or testimonials or anything about the work that they're doing that helps complete that story, they can email it to rhj@work, which if you take a flyer should have it.
And then the other thing is that I was at another community group not too long ago for St. Louis County. I'm a member of the Special Populations and Issues group for them. And so I announced to the whole continuum of care that this was going on. And of course, I didn't have any materials with me. And so if you just Google racial healing and justice, it'll bring up the websites and all the links, and it's boom, right there.
What a nice friend.
Aren't you all also doing something throughout this week? From 6 to 8?
Let's see,
About
drop in help hours with the CGV. Hey,
That's-
9:26 through 9:30, 6 to 8 PM. It will be virtual, but you know, like especially you can have the application up and going, I don't know what this means. Hi, CG, you know, and ask those questions directly. So we want to make sure that it is accessible. Couple of other important dates. The application portal closes October 5th. Applicant interviews, because we actually like to talk to people, again, many ways to tell your story. You'll hear from us around, again, don't make me pinky swear on these dates, okay, it's flexible, but around the November 7th through the 18th. And the decisions will be coming out near the end of November to the first week or so in December. So you're gonna know about the decisions. We do have the flyers, QR codes that will take you right to the application page, but just a good old Google of Racial Healing Justice Fund. I know it just rolls off the tongue, but if you get any of those things and St. Louis in a Google search, you will wind up in the right place. And then from there, all of the contact information is available. Please.
I want to make sure I have the recording is available. Just go to your website.
Please.